"Oh, you didn't get one?" My mother-in-law smirked as my husband's family exchanged gifts. Everyone laughed. I smiled back. "That's okay. I brought something for you." The laughter stopped when they saw what it was. My husband, Jack, is very close to his family. And by his family, I mean his mother, Grace, and his two sisters, Tracy and Melissa. They're a tight little trio, and I've never been able to break into their circle. I've been married to Jack for 6 years, and in all that time, I've been treated like an outsider. It started small. Little things, like how they would plan family trips and forget to invite me, or how, at every gathering, they would reminisce about events from before I came along, making sure I had nothing to contribute. Grace, my mother-in-law, was the worst of them all. She had a way of smiling at me while cutting me down, a way of excluding me so casually that, if I ever complained, I would look crazy. My sisters-in-law Tracy and Melissa were just as bad. They followed Grace's lead, throwing in their own snide comments when they could. Jack always told me to ignore it. He never defended me, never called them out, never told them to stop. He would just laugh and tell me I was overreacting. And I let it slide because I loved him. Thanksgiving was always at Grace's house. She loved hosting. She would spend weeks bragging about her handmade centerpieces and her famous stuffing. It was always a grand production. Every year, I told myself that this time would be different, that they wouldn't make me feel invisible. I was always wrong. We arrived at her massive, perfectly decorated Connecticut home in the late afternoon. The house smelled like cinnamon and turkey, and everything looked like a scene from a Hallmark movie. Grace had truly outdone herself. The moment we stepped inside, I felt it. That familiar feeling that I didn't belong. Tracy and Melissa greeted Jack with big hugs, then turned to me with polite little smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Grace barely acknowledged me. Jack, of course, didn't notice a thing. Dinner was fine, or as fine as it could be when I had to listen to Grace talk about Tracy's promotion and Melissa's new house while ignoring me completely. I kept quiet. I smiled when appropriate. I did my best not to let them see how much it bothered me. But then, after dinner, Grace clapped her hands together and said, "Before dessert, we have a little surprise." Every year, Grace did a Thanksgiving gift exchange. It wasn't really an exchange, it was more of a performance. She loved playing the role of a generous matriarch, handing out gifts to show how much she loved and appreciated her family. One by one, she handed out presents. A designer purse for Tracy, a spa gift certificate for Melissa, and a bottle of expensive whiskey for Jack. Even the grandkids got new toys. Everyone in the family received something, everyone but me. Grace turned to me with a smile. "Oh, we just forgot about you." Then she laughed. So did Tracy, so did Melissa, and then, worst of all, Jack laughed too. It hit me like a slap. After years of biting my tongue, being ignored, and being treated like I wasn't worth remembering, Jack thought it was funny. I felt a wave of something cold and sharp settle inside me. I smiled back. "That's okay," I said. "I didn't forget about you." The laughter stopped immediately. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small, neatly wrapped box. I handed it to Grace. Her smile faltered. She hesitated before taking it, glancing around as though expecting some kind of trick. The room was silent. "Go ahead," I said. "Open it." Grace peeled back the wrapping paper slowly. Inside the box was a thick stack of papers. She frowned and pulled them out, scanning the first page. The color drained from her cheeks. She flipped to the next page, then the next, her hands starting to tremble. Tracy leaned over. Melissa did too. They read over her shoulder, and then I saw it. That moment of horror when they realized exactly what it was. Grace's catering business, her beloved pride and joy, was in big trouble. I knew because I had spent the last few months looking into it. She had been under-recording her income for years, hiding money, claiming losses that didn't exist, and dodging taxes in ways that were very illegal. I had proof, all neatly compiled, carefully documented, and ready to be sent to the IRS. Grace looked up at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I took a sip of my wine. "Oh, I had some time on my hands while you were busy forgetting me." Grace's husband, Arthur, snatched the papers from her hands. His face turned red as he read through them. "Grace, what the hell is this?" Tracy and Melissa started flipping through the pages, their expressions shifting from confusion to panic. "Mom?" Melissa's voice was shaky. "What is this?" Grace didn't answer. She couldn't, because she knew exactly what it was. She knew her entire business, her livelihood, her perfect reputation could all go up in flames. Jack just stared at me. He wasn't laughing anymore. Nobody was. And I wasn't done yet. The room fell silent except for the sound of pages flipping and sharp, panicked breathing. Grace's hands trembled as she clutched the documents. Tracy and Melissa looked at their mother like she was a complete stranger. And Jack? He just sat there, frozen, staring at me like he didn't recognize me. I let the silence stretch, letting them feel the weight of what had just happened. Then Grace did what she always did when cornered. She went on the attack. "You little bitch," she hissed, her voice shaking. "You don't know what you've done." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I think I do." She turned to Jack, grasping for control. "Are you just going to sit there? Do something." Jack blinked, like he was waking from a dream. His mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted from me to the documents. Then he said the worst possible thing. "Why would you do this?" Not to his mother, but to me. Like I was the one who had just humiliated him, like I was the one who had crossed a line. I felt something inside me snap. Grace saw it. She must have, because her expression twisted into a triumphant smirk. She thought I would fold. She thought Jack taking her side would make me feel small. She thought wrong. Grace slammed the papers down on the table. "This is fake! You made this up!" Tracy, still staring at the numbers, looked up. "Mom, this looks real." Melissa, flipping through the last page, spoke with a hollow voice. "These are tax forms." "No," Grace snapped. "This is a setup. You set me up." I smiled. "Oh, honey, you set yourself up." Her hands curled into fists. I leaned forward and lowered my voice. "Did you think I wasn't paying attention all these years?" Grace gasped as though I'd slapped her. "Did you think I wouldn't notice how you treat me, how you laugh at me, how you exclude me?" Jack shifted uncomfortably. His sisters wouldn't meet my eyes. Grace opened her mouth, but I kept going. "You've been committing tax fraud for years, Grace," I said. "And you did it sloppily too." Arthur, who had been silent this whole time, spoke up. "How much trouble is she in?" I tilted my head. "If she fixes it quickly, maybe just fines. But if the IRS really digs in," I clicked my tongue, "it could be bad." Grace's face went pale. Arthur rubbed his forehead. "Jesus Christ, Grace." Jack finally seemed to realize how serious this was. "Mom?" Grace whirled around, turning her fury back on me. "You ungrateful little tramp. I let you into this family. I fed you. I actually laughed. "Let me into this family?" I repeated, incredulous. "Grace, you forgot about me tonight on purpose, just like you've been doing for 6 years." She had no defense. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Tracy slammed the papers down suddenly. "How did you know to look into this?" she asked. I raised an eyebrow. "What?" Melissa narrowed her eyes. "No one just digs into someone's taxes. You had to suspect something." A weird feeling crept into my stomach because they were right. I hadn't started looking into Grace's finances purely out of pettiness. I'd done it because of something else, something I wasn't supposed to know. Grace was hiding money not just from the IRS, but from her own family. That meant she was stealing from them. Tracy and Melissa started flipping through the papers again, faster this time. "Mom," Tracy snapped, her voice sharp now, "why do some of these deposits say personal expense?" Melissa frowned at the pages. "Wait, why are there withdrawals from Dad's account?" Grace froze. Arthur turned to her slowly. What the hell is she talking about? Grace's eyes darted around the room. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with a lie, an excuse, anything. But Tracy and Melissa weren't letting up. You told us you didn't have any money to help with my house, Melissa hissed. You said you couldn't lend me anything when I lost my job last year, Tracy added. Grace was sweating. Arthur snatched the papers again, flipping through them with wild eyes. Grace, answer them. For the first time that night, Grace was speechless. Jack looked at me, his expression a mixture of shock and betrayal, as though he wasn't sure if I had just saved his family or set off a bomb. I met his gaze and waited, because this was about to get so much worse. The silence in the room was thick, like the air before a storm. Grace's eyes darted wildly, searching for a way out, but there was none. Tracy and Melissa were both staring her down, flipping pages even faster now, their minds catching up to what I had already pieced together. Grace hadn't just been cheating the IRS. She had been stealing from her own family, and she knew it. Arthur, gripping the papers so tightly his knuckles went white, wore an expression that shifted from red to gray. His hands shook as he stared at Grace like he had never seen her before. You... His voice cracked. You drained my retirement account. The room went deathly silent. Melissa gasped. Jack's eyes snapped to his mother. What? Grace's entire face twisted. I did what I had to do. You stole from me. Arthur's voice boomed through the room, and Grace flinched. I worked my whole life for that money, Grace. We built a life with that money, and you... Arthur staggered back, breathing hard, his hands shaking so badly that the papers slipped from his grip and scattered across the floor. Nobody moved. Grace's eyes darted around, truly desperate now. I was going to fix it, she cried. Stop lying, I said. For the first time, I saw real fear in Grace's eyes. Tracy turned to Melissa. We're done. We're cutting her off. Melissa nodded immediately. Absolutely. Grace's head snapped up. You can't do that. Watch us, Tracy spat. Then something crashed. We all turned just in time to see Arthur gripping his chest and collapsing. For a split second, nobody reacted. Then chaos. Jack lunged forward. Dad! Dad! Tracy and Melissa screamed. Grace's hands flew to her mouth, her face a mask of shock. Arthur! She cried. Arthur! I was already on my phone, dialing 911. The operator picked up. 911! What's your emergency? I forced my voice to stay calm. We need an ambulance, now! The next 10 minutes were a blur. Grace was crying hysterically. Tracy was shaking her father. Melissa was frozen. Jack went pale, trembling, mumbling, Dad, hold on, please, hold on. And I stood there watching everything Grace had built fall apart, knowing this wasn't even the worst part, because Arthur wasn't just a man who had been betrayed. He was a man who had lawyers. If he survived this night, Grace was about to lose everything. The paramedics arrived quickly. The second they rushed through the door, Grace collapsed into hysterics. Oh my God, my Arthur, please help him! She threw herself forward like a grieving widow in some dramatic movie, but I noticed something. She wasn't touching him, wasn't holding his hand or brushing his hair back. She was just performing. Jack was the one gripping his father's hand, his whole body trembling. Tracy and Melissa stood back, faces pale and unreadable. I simply watched. I had seen this before. Grace knew she was losing, and Grace did not lose. So she tried spinning the story in real time, shaping herself into the poor, devoted wife instead of the woman who had just been caught stealing from the man she claimed to love. I almost felt sick. We followed the ambulance to the hospital. No one spoke. I rode with Jack, but he didn't look at me. Not once. Not when we parked, not when we walked inside, and not when we sat in the waiting room. It was Tracy who finally broke the silence. Mom, what the hell were you thinking? Grace didn't answer. She sat stiffly in a plastic chair, dabbing at her dry eyes with a tissue, looking like she had been personally victimized. Tracy kept going. You stole from Dad. You stole from all of us. Melissa shook her head, her voice sharp. And you lied. For years, Grace's mouth twitched. Then she turned to Jack because he was her last chance. Michael, she said softly, using the gentlest tone she could fake. You don't believe I meant to hurt anyone, do you? Jack flinched. His jaw clenched. Then he turned to me, not to his mother. Me. Was this your plan all along? He asked in a low voice. Is this the revenge you wanted? Destroying my family? My stomach dropped. Hard. Grace's shoulders relaxed, and she let out a small breath. She had just won him back. After everything she had done, after stealing from him, from his sisters, from his father, after letting her own husband collapse on the floor, she was still more important to him than I was. I stared at Jack, my mouth dry. Are you serious? Tracy's head snapped up. Jack, don't do that. Melissa looked disgusted. Mom did this to herself. But Grace pounced. She leaned toward Jack, touching his arm, her voice gentle and sad. You've always been the only one who really understood me. And Jack let her. That was it. That was the moment I realized I felt nothing for him anymore. I stood up slowly. Grace's gaze flicked to me, her smile small and satisfied because she thought she had won. I let out a small breath and then I laughed softly. Grace's smile faltered. What's so funny? I shook my head. You, Grace. You're funny. She stiffened. Jack grabbed my wrist. Just stop, okay? I yanked free. Then I let it all out. No, Jack. You stop. Everyone froze. I turned to Grace first. You treat me like garbage for 6 years. You exclude me, humiliate me, make me feel like I don't belong. And the second I fight back, I'm the villain? Grace opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. I turned to Jack. You let them treat me like this, I said, my voice shaking with anger. His face hardened. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. I let out a sharp breath. Your mother stole from your father, lied to your sisters, and you're still defending her. His jaw locked. I shook my head, tears burning at the corners of my eyes. You were never on my side. Not once. And I'm done waiting for that to change. I pulled my wedding ring off and dropped it into his hand. His eyes widened. What are you doing? Leaving. Grace sucked in a breath. Oh, don't be dramatic. I laughed again. Dramatic? Grace, I just burned your life to the ground in under an hour. Her face twisted in fury. Tracy and Melissa didn't stop me. Neither did Arthur when he woke up and learned everything. He filed for divorce. Grace lost it all. And Jack? He tried to reach out weeks later, saying he finally understood what I had been trying to tell him for years. I blocked his number because I wasn't waiting for him to choose me anymore. I had already chosen myself.